is there any part of you, being a diehard Jet fan, that would be open to the idea of Rex getting part 2 to be the head coach of the Jets?
No. I think when you strip away the emotional and the sentimental stuff that obviously is just about all Jet fans have at this point, and you get to the essence and the core of what really matters, like what is he bringing to the table as a football coach, I've got zero interest. I don't know how to be more direct about this. I can't possibly be more blunt. I think that hiring Rex Ryan would be a disaster for the New York Jets, an absolute disaster. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easy move. Now, I don't know. I don't know how serious they are. I don't know if they're just throwing him a bone because he's been begging for 2 months. I don't know. Maybe it's just to kind of satisfy, at least temporarily, a portion of the fan base that is interested in Rex. And, there's always that romanticizing, what was like an old girlfriend or an old movie or an old song that in a lot of ways was not nearly as good in real time as people recreate it to be. I get it where the press conference will be amazing and Rex will be banging the podium and Rex will be, full of his bluster and be throwing fastballs at the Patriots and, high heat at the Bills. We're coming for you. We're doing this. And then you get down to the business of football, and I think that's where it's incredibly hollow. I don't think he would build a good staff. I don't think he's good for the modern NFL. I think he has been comfortable and lazy in a television studio for far too long, and I just think that Rex has inserted himself into this equation by doing what Rex does best, and that is talking and not coaching.
Yeah, he's a great talker. He's not a good head coach. He's a good defensive coordinator. I would have hired him. And by the way, if Rex really wanted to be a head coach again after he failed with the Jets and then with the Bills, shouldn't he have gotten back on the carousel to go be a defensive coordinator somewhere?
But in his defense, he tried.
Not enough. He had opportunities.
No, he tried for the Dallas job.
I'm not even buying that, BT, honestly.
Well, I'm telling you, he was trying for the Dallas job. So,
But he had other opportunities. You can't just say...
I don't know that he had other offers.
Rex denied flat out wanting to be a defensive coordinator for years.
Specific teams or just in general?
For years. There were specific teams. I don't remember. It's so long ago. But there were plenty of teams who would have hired Rex Ryan as a defensive coordinator. He said, no, I'm a head coach. Other guys who have failed as head coaches went, almost everybody, you're either a coach or you aren't, they went and were a coordinator again, maybe working their way up. Look at Todd Bowles, look at some others, Cliff Kingsbury, we referenced them. Rex didn't want to do it. So maybe as another defensive coordinator, if he worked his way back up, he would have gotten an opportunity. He got hired with the Jets in 2009 at age 47. If he were a good head coach, he wouldn't have been done at age 54. And it's not just like he's this great broadcaster.
I hear you. I hear you.
Rex Ryan was a failed head coach for a reason. And for the Jet fans who said that they love him, why exactly? The same thing you asked me to say why I believe Dable is a good head coach. I want to hear from Jet fans why. Based on what do you think Rex is a good coach? What, because he won a few playoff games? Because nobody's done that with the Jets? That's not enough. Look at his record. He had one season in his career as a head coach with more than 10 wins. One. That's it. He also won with Eric Mangini's teams. I would argue that there's more on paper that Eric Mangini is a better head coach than Rex Ryan. This, to me, is the biggest mistake the Jets could make.
I don't think they'll make the mistake. So I at least take a little solace in that if you're with us, that you think it's the wrong move for the Jets. But you never know because Tannenbaum's involved, and Tannenbaum is obviously very familiar with Rex, and they worked well together. They had success. See, to me, and I've listened to a lot of the radio conversations with Rex. I sought it out. I found it. I wanted to hear him because I knew that this was becoming at least a little viable in terms of him getting an interview. And see, he's the same guy that left Buffalo. Forget about the Jets when he was fired by the Buffalo Bills with a game to go in his second year up in Buffalo. And there's no real substance to what he says.
Right, there never was.
Yeah, he gets asked very pointed questions like, "What kind of a staff would you have?" Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to be the Jets. I know what it's I know what it's like to be a Jet, and nobody else is more equipped to be the Jets head coach than me. All right, fantastic. Once you get past the opening statement and everybody's excited, all right, I want to be the Jets head coach. What is the plan? Give me specific ideas. Give me specific names. And I've gone and I've heard multiple conversations and also on on television when Rex Ryan talks about this, when his co-hosts have asked him about this on TV recently. And it's never anything, again, with an ounce of substance. It's the loud bravado, it's the bluster, and I'm not falling for it. I don't doubt, let me be very clear, I don't doubt that Rex Ryan loves the Jets. I really do. I believe that he loves the Jets. I believe that he wants to help fix the Jets. And I believe that he believes that he can be the one to do that. The difference is, I don't believe that he can be the one to do that.
Right, because there is no substance and he's not a very good head coach. But all the things you just said, that's the reason. When I ask Jet fans, or we'll ask them and hear from Jet fans, 888-808-1019, why do you want Rex back? It's because of all the things that you said. He says what Jet fans want to hear.
Yeah.
He said it.
He plays the room like a master.
100%. He did it at his initial press conference to a point where I was ready to run through the glass.
Me too.
Looking forward to it. Then you watch him and you realize there's nothing to it. He's never evolved. Even the stuff we're talking about, well, I'm a Jet, this guy's a good coach, but I'm a Jet. Okay, Jet fans want to hear that. It's a vulnerable franchise to begin with, fan base to begin with, so they want to hear that. The Rogers Country Club stuff, that is music.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's all.
What are you going to do? Yeah. You're going to do nothing.
Oh, ain't going to be no country club around. Yeah, it sounds great, but what's the plan? He's never evolved. He's never learned. He never had an offensive game plan to begin with. The league in the 10 years or whatever it's been since he's been gone has changed completely to go where it's an offensive league. We don't even know if his defense would work anymore with the way the offense is, but he didn't know offense then. He's certainly not going to know it now. Like, there are a litany of reasons. Now, as a talk show host, I would love to see Rex Ryan. I hope he gets hired. I'm with you, Jet fans. I'd love to see him get hired because it would be the greatest content that we could have for the next 2-3 years, as long as he lasts before he gets fired again. But if you care about the New York Jets winning football games, this would be a horrible move.
I got to tell you, I think that I'm just going on the instinct meter right now, all right? And I don't think it's nearly as popular within the Jet fan base as a lot of people might think it is. I don't think that...
It's at least 50.
No way. I think it's below 50. Now, I'm not saying that, like, if we took 20 calls, that it wouldn't be 10 and 10. I'm not saying that, but...
Just go by normal walk, like everybody you talk to and hear about...
I honestly think Jet fans have smartened up. I think that they are over the act. They're over the WWE style presentation, and they want a more buttoned up, forward thinking, intelligent. I'm not saying Rex isn't smart, but just a more modern approach. I'm not saying that there aren't a few, don't take this the wrong way, dinosaurs out there that are going to fall for the shtick and the gimmick and really, Rex, yeah, let's go, Red, we want Red. Right. Okay, but when you get past that, where there's not an ounce of substance, I really don't think Jet fans want him.
See, I disagree with that. Well, I think Jet fans do want him, and I do understand why, because even a little part of me who loved Rex's hire the first time, I read his book, like I was really into Rex, and I believed in him, and then we watched him coach, I was like, my God, he just doesn't get it. He's saying the same thing he said in year 4, year 5, as he did in year 1, without any evolution, without any acknowledgement that he wasn't good enough. Like, it was the same false bravado and buffoonery. I'm sorry, but that's what it was.
I agree.
For years, so I just couldn't take it anymore, and nothing has changed. But I think Jet fans hang on to what was, because it did happen. Like, we look back at this history, which is this franchise history, which has been inept. Rex did have success, whether it be with Mangini's players or not, whatever. It happened. So as a fan, you look back to that and say, well, he did it, and there's a part of you that wants to believe that, you know what, and I do believe that he could fix this defense to a certain extent. They're to me are way better hires. I said I would have done it in season. That would have been the move then. You would have excited the fan base, and you would have seen what kind of jolt Rex could provide in the short term with the team that had some talent. That, to me, was the time to do it. Now you have too many good options. You're trying to move the franchise forward. No chance would this be the right option.
It would really be, I think it would be an awful move. And I'll tell you why I think Jet fans are smartening up. I do. And listen, we'll take the calls, and eventually we'll get a sense on social media if they do hire Rex, if they don't, whatever. 888-808-1019. We'll get these calls in a minute here. I think that Jet fans finally understand they need a CEO and not a guy with a megaphone just screaming, number one. And number two, I think if the list was uninspiring, like if we were presented with a bunch of coordinators and not somebody like Flores or more viable options, at least I believe viable in the minds of Jet fans today. And the other thing too, Sal, I agree. What Rex did the first 2 years are undeniable. And it's the high point of the last 20 years of Jet fandom. But I think the diehard Jet fans, and that's really who I'm talking to right now, when I say I don't think that the majority want Rex, there were 5 other years after that where the defense got run over. The defense came up small in the fourth quarter. The offense was inept. There was multiple coordinators. It was an antiquated look at what, like, there was just no evolution in what the Jets presented. Jet fans did not forget that. Now, if you want Rex, that's fine. This is your deal, but just understand you're getting the same guy that left the building years ago. I don't think he's grown, and I don't think he would be good for this team.
There was a reason why you broke up. And every time you go back, it inevitably fails again. The breakup happened for a reason. It was a fun couple of first years. Mm-hmm. Eventually, the relationship ran its course.
Well, what about people who break up and then they get together and they actually get married?
Yeah, how many people?
That does happen. I don't know.
Show me those stats. I know I wasn't one of those. BT and Sal on the Fan are friends at Town Fair Tire. Remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Anthony's in Harlem. What's up, Ant?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You're spot on, Sal, with your relationship analogy. This is like, this is the lowest point. I mean, BT, you said 96, 1-15 was pretty bad, but this is the most disappointing season I can remember as a Jet fan. And you're at your lowest now. So you're dumped, you're feeling like crap. So who do you go back to? The person that wants you. And you go on a date with them. And I hope they go on the date, the Jets, and say, what are we doing? We ended this for a reason. Like, we don't need this. And it really comes down to, guys, and this is my opinion, who really wants the job? And I don't think a lot of people want this job. Aside from Rex, you know who I've read who is interested in the job, and we'll talk about him probably later in the week? Aaron Glenn. He wants to be the head coach of the Jets. So maybe they should interview him. And just
they are.
Rex wants it. They should. And I'm going to call back and tell you why I love Aaron Glenn. I'm going to bang the drum for him. But just because Rex wants to be a coach here doesn't mean you should even interview him, but that's what the Jets do.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing where the guy really – I mean, there was a point when we knew that Saleh was out, or we thought even before he was fired, like, all right, this isn't going well. Then he was fired, where we knew after this season the Jets will be in the market for a head coach. I don't even think that anybody, maybe a few, like even Joe would say, like, I'll take back Rex. Okay. But, like, Rex became part of the story because Rex made himself part of the story. Nothing that he's done, no new appeal, no personal reflection and advancement of his coaching acumen. He's on the list because he basically begged for 2 months.
And he does want the job, to Anthony's point, and we know his relationship with Woody, which is why this is something that, like, this has been speculated for years. This is nothing new here. It's actually just happening now that he's actually getting an interview.
But it's gotten real. Yeah, you always hear that little murmur, maybe Rex can fix this. But now it's out there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For years, it has been talked about and speculated about, and fans have called about hire Rex, bring him back. But now it's actually a realistic possibility that he's actually interviewing for the job. The one thing I would say is I don't want Aaron Glenn under any circumstance, and it has nothing to do with Aaron Glenn.
I would take him a million times over Rex Ryan. I actually like Aaron Glenn. You know that. Now, I want Flores. I'm very intrigued by Aaron Glenn. I know that they need a proven CEO. I've said that.
Well, that's
like the one guy. I know.
But why? Based on what?
Well, number one, he's had 11 guys on IR for his defense this year. But then, no, you can't minimize that. When you are
the defense is stunk, BT.
How did they do this past game?
You have one game.
How did they do against the genius Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold, who had this incredible renaissance? He's got 11 guys on IR.
They were in the red zone all night long. Sam Darnold missing throws. But the point is,
I understand that. But Aaron Glenn's adaptability, I'm not saying he's going to get the job, although he might. But to me, Aaron Glenn is now. I'm so tired of, and I say it myself. He's a leader of men. When you look at Aaron Glenn, do you see somebody where guys will be like, "Oh, all right, this dude gets it. I'm ready to play," and I see that.
But I could say the same thing about Rex.
No. I don't see that anymore. I used to see that. I don't see that anymore. I see that with Flores. I see that with Vrabel. I see that with Aaron Glenn. I even see that more with Ron Rivera at this point than Rex. And I don't want Ron Rivera either. I'm saying I don't want to get it twisted. I think Aaron Glenn could be really good for the Jets. I really do. But you know who I want? I want Vrabel. I want Flores. And more importantly, you know who I don't want? And Rex is, of all the names, I want him least.
Right, but I do think it's interesting because it might come down to Glenn versus Rex as two guys who want the job. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to see how the interview process plays out.
It's not nuts when you say that. It could come down to those. And I'll take Aaron Glenn every single time.
And I'm in a more difficult spot because I know that this team needs somebody that has experience, that is established. I can't do another first-time defensive coordinator. I can't do it.
Sal, you think Rex Ryan, just yes or no, you think Rex Ryan's a good NFL head coach?
No, I don't.
So what are we doing? At least there's a chance Aaron Glenn could be.
Well, think
about that.
Because you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, we already know what we know.
I know, but
give me 2 or B where there's a better option potentially.
It's the floor versus the ceiling, where the floor for Glenn to me is maybe even worse in the short term, at least, than Rex. I do feel like even though we both dismiss Rex and don't want him, I do feel like he would raise the floor a little bit from what it's been. I think Rex would elevate this team to be a competitive football team. Playoffs, I don't know. Long term, absolutely not. Is he the guy I want running the franchise, figuring out the next quarterback beyond Rodgers?
No.
Okay, not even close. With Glenn, I think the ceiling is far higher than Rex, but the floor could be solid.
The floor is lower.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's always a possibility. To me, you know what Rex is? Rex is, and you have kids, you guys will understand this, whether it's Halloween or whether it's Valentine's Day or they get some candy in the stocking, the sugar jolt, where they just start bouncing off walls. That's Rex.
Right.
Rex is
I like
empty.
sugar.
I do too. I love it. I do. Rex is empty calories and a burst of energy that's going to just skyrocket to the ceiling and then probably fizzle out and dissipate fast.
Corey is in Springfield. What's up, Corey?
I think that we should just continue the clown show. If we go back to the newspaper article, 15, 20 years ago when they had the clown car with Rex in it, let's bring it back.
Okay, why?
Until we get Woody Johnson to sell the team, we're just going to continue to be a clown show.
Corey, he's not going to sell it. You guys got to stop this, Corey. And I know you're saying that facetiously, but you can say whatever you want, but you at least have to understand that Woody Johnson selling the team is never going to happen unless Woody Johnson wants to sell the team. I mean, I'm hearing this more and more. Oh, John Mara, sell the team.
Yeah,
they forgot how to run He's not selling his portion. Woody Johnson, sell the team. You can't win. You're not doing it. It's not happening.
There's no point to have that conversation. Now, I will say...
Same thing with Dolan years ago. Dolan didn't sell it. He's not going to.
Now, I did say the same thing for years about the Willpowers. Forget it. They're not going to sell the team.
And look what it took to make them sell.
Understood.
There's somebody going to jail.
Yeah, so it's not it's not a realistic, fun sports conversation. Like, we have to deal with the realistic parameters that we've been given here.
Correct.
Yeah, it's great. It sounds great. Fire the owner. Sell the team. It's not going to happen.
Oh, if I thought it was going to work, I'd be saying it every day.
Yeah, and it's not that we haven't said it, but the reality is it's not. So you could yell and scream, sell the team all you want. He's not going to sell the team. What he is going to do is hire a head coach. So which head coach would you want? That's what we want to hear from you. And again, there are guys that I like that aren't even on the list, whether it's Pete Carroll will be my top choice, John Gruden, Cliff Kingsbury. I don't understand why the Jets... Like Ben Johnson, maybe because he said he didn't want the job, fine. But I don't understand why the Jets, who seemingly are interviewing everybody, wouldn't even inquire about some of those other names.
I don't know. The only thing with Gruden is there's baggage, and each franchise is going to have to individually determine whether or not they're ready to walk down the aisle with that.
Okay.
But at this point, you should have done your due diligence. And in defense of the Jets, maybe they did, and maybe they're not comfortable with it. So I've got to respect that. So that's the Gruden stuff.
Carroll. I mean, just the age.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know how you don't make at least. Sal brought up, Pete Carroll last week, at the end of last week, and it was interesting. I hadn't thought about that. At least a cursory. Just give me like an exploratory call. Hey, Pete, you want to still coach? Interested?
Or by the way, get his thoughts on, just have him in the building, interview him, see what he would do to fix your team. Like, the guy's been one of the more successful coaches in the history of football.
Yeah, and he's energetic.
Yeah,
but he's energetic like Rex in a different kind of energetic way, but he's successful.
Right. There's substance there. He's actually backed it up with certain things. Kingsbury, like I said, offensive mind. I also think, like, when we're making the decision, we'll continue with the calls here, 888-808-1019. When we're making the decision, you have to decipher what you want. There are a lot of different options. Do you want a veteran? Do you want a first-time guy? Do you want an offensive mind? Like, there's a lot of experience, success, offensive, defensive guy, former Jet, whatever, younger guy, older guy. Like, there's a lot of different ways to decipher the different candidates. For me, number one would be experience and success before. Number two, if I'm not going to have that, I want an offensive mind.
I want a CEO. I want a guy who's going to be able to surround himself with a smart, competent staff, which I listen, Rex has been out of the game for a while. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have a coordinator on both sides and a linebackers coach. He's going to have coaches. And he'd probably hire somebody like Bart, which I would like. I mean, just certain guys I think that he would reach into his past for. But, in terms of that modern, innovative offensive staff that you have to assemble, I mean, Dan Orlovsky going to bring his telestrator from ESPN? Who's he going to hire? Stephen A. is going to be the special teams coach? I mean, come on, who's Rex's staff going to be? That's the problem.
BT and Sal on the Fan. More your calls when we come back. 888-808-1019.